Raid on Bungeling Bay is a shoot 'em up at its core, but also, weirdly enough, shares a lot more common ground with SimCity than it might be apparent at first glance, being the original inspiration for the city management title. Released in 1984, originally for the Commodore 64, Raid on Bungeling Bay sees you departing from a naval carrier with your precious helicopter, tasked with destroying the evil Bungeling Empire's factories. Apparently, the evil buggers are working to develop a non-specific but still deadly and unstoppable weapon of mass destruction. As opposed to other shoot-em-ups of the era, Raid employed a top-down view and has a whole multitude of original features for the genre. Since the game has no music and very few sound effects, starting it gives off an almost quiet and relaxing vibe. This is why sometimes I add a little bit of music just to break up the silence. The action quickly boils up, and you will definitely have your plate full, trying to shake off guided missiles and bombs, not to mention having to defend a carrier, since it is necessary to replenish ammo for the various weapons. Wright developed two tools to make the game: Chedit, a character editor, and Wedit, a world building editor, that let one use the characters from the other. It was Wedit that eventually evolved into SimCity, when Wright started researching urban planning. Thanks to Raid on Bungeling Bay's good sales at the time, he had enough economic independence to start working on such a daunting project. Interestingly enough, the title seems to take place in the same universe as other Brøderbund titles of the time, like Choplifter and Lord Runner. Apparently, the American software house was really keen on marketing games featuring the whole history of the evil Bungeling Empire. I wonder if the guy from Prince of Persia was really called Sultan of Bungeling. While the core of Raid over Bungeling Bay is naturally shooting and bombing the enemy factories, you also need to employ a precise strategy in order to bring down the evil empire. For example, taking out the ships bringing in supplies to the Bungeling factories causes a general slowdown to the bay's economy and the production of weapons, thus allowing more time to act. Left alone, the factories will continue producing weapons and will soon be too strong for you to take head on. Of course, you could also decide to directly attack the missile factories, which are the main objective. Even though running at full power, they are quite dangerous and very difficult to defeat. The more time you allow the evil empire to produce weapons, the higher the difficulty the game will be in the end. During the gameplay, on a dock on the island in the upper right, a battleship that is slowly being built can be observed. Once the ship is ready, it will sail to destroy the carrier, and is going to be almost impossible to destroy. That's another thing you will have to keep in check. The radars also play an important role. Destroying them means the Bungelings will have a harder time finding and attacking our helicopter. The handling is pretty realistic, as much as a game like this can allow, and would probably be more suited to be piloted with a keyboard than a joystick. The interface is concise enough to be displayed on a single line on the bottom of the screen, but Wright still wasn't satisfied and wanted to give us even more information. Hence the use of colours to inform how much damage the helicopter has taken, along with identifying the strength of the various factories to be blown up. A 100% damaged helicopter is basically useless, but can still be employed for a desperate suicide bombing attempt. This is also probably the first shoot-em-up to ever feature a whole assortment of different endings. The newspaper headlines on the final screen shall change depending on how many crafts were lost in the fight against the evils of Bungeling Bay. If the last helicopter is crashed against the final factory, the newspaper will celebrate the sacrifice of the great hero. Little details like these go a long way in distinguishing forgettable games from passion products, separating good game designers from real talents. The idea of juxtaposing strategy gameplay and pure action was indeed quite novel for 1984, and we might recognise it as being part of Will Wright's not great affection for the action genre. As he talked about the game later, it becomes pretty clear that the developer never really intended to develop a true action game, and was not interested in that kind of breakneck, intense action that developers of the genre were trying to replicate on those early systems. Instead, Wright was clearly more interested in the way each building would connect with each other and what would happen if you were to destroy one building before another, in the overall scheme of the gameplay. His novel and different approach is indeed the main ingredient that makes Raid on Bungeling Bay still so memorable today, with many people mentioning its high difficulty, probably because not following the intended strategy leads to death, but many remembering it with great affection. Wright reportedly had more fun designing the buildings in the bay and the various ways in which the industries are connected, rather than the shoot 'em up part. It is also worth noting that the original C64 version of SimCity graphically looks pretty close to Raid on Bungeling Bay. For 1984, the game was nothing short of revolutionary, and the fact that it is still one of the few shoot 'em ups even to this day that uses unique mechanics from strategic titles, along with a slew of small details like the different endings, is clear evidence of that. Maybe it can be more of interest for gaming historians than actual players, but Raid on Bungeling Bay remains a well-designed and expertly developed early shoot 'em up and a brilliant Commodore 64 title. Give it a whirl and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button, and don't forget there are classic games just like this added daily, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and follow me on this epic journey to revisit some fantastic nostalgic memories. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Until then, bye for now.